Hello everyone, it's me Skin Glow and Afro, and I wanted to come on here to YouTube to talk about the whole police brutality situation. George Floyd was murdered by the police a few days ago, and everybody has, seen his murder, or like me, I've not actually seen it, but because that is my own personal preference, I'm choosing not to watch that video, because at this point in time, it's kind of like my mind has shut down. I literally can't watch that video, but I've seen the stills, so I know exactly what happened, and it has just reached a point where everybody has had enough of the police, to keep it 100. It's just gotten to a point where you just think to yourself, how long can racism be upholded? Like, it's not even for us black people to act a certain way to get the police officers off our head. It's not for us to do that. It's for white people to hold other white people accountable for the actions that they're doing. Because let's be honest, in America, the police force was started from slave catchers. There were slave catchers, and they started, and after that, that's what became the police force in America. Here in the UK, it's a little bit different. It's actually very different. Police brutality is a worldwide issue, and it's not just something that occurs in America. It happens here in the UK as well. There have been several, and I mean several, incidences of police brutality in the UK. So this is not just an either-or situation. It is all over the world. Police have been abusing their power, and they're abusing the power because white supremacy has given them that power, even in black dominant countries. So I know some people are going to come from my head for saying that, but let's keep it 100. Okay, whenever there are countries where colonialism has made the countries a certain way, white supremacy still lingers now. And it just really bothers me for that video to be out there, that one police officer that was on George's neck, and he would not come off the guy's neck. He was kneeling on the man's neck, and the guy was saying, "My stomach hurts, I can't breathe." Does this remind you of Eric Garner a few years ago? He also said the same thing, "I can't breathe." And once again, but that situation was different. He was on his front, and there was a police officer who was kneeling on his back, and he said he couldn't breathe. Eric Garner was an asthmatic. Yeah, and the only reason the police killed him was because he was apparently selling cigarettes in front of a little store. Like, you murdered someone because they were apparently selling cigarettes. Like, I don't understand what is wrong with the police officers. I mean, it's not just racism. It's not just racism that is the reason behind that. Like, clearly something is mentally wrong with them. Something is mentally wrong with them, because I don't understand how someone can tell you over and over and over again to leave me alone, and you choose not to leave them alone. Because when you watch some of these videos where black people have actually managed to survive, you would see, like, when they question these police officers have no clue why they have pulled this person over. Like, they literally ask the right kind of questions, and that white police officer, they're either afraid or they don't have a single clue why they pulled you over. Like, how can you be a police officer, wear that badge, wear that uniform, and not have a clue why you pulled a black person over? Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, how can you not have a clue? And some of them, like, when you see them in the videos, they have fear on their faces, and I'm like, the fucking shit, you have a gun in your pocket, yet you're afraid of a black person. also wanted to address Breonna Taylor. She was murdered back in March of this year. The police officers bursted into her house, and you know, I believe she was asleep. They bursted into her house and she's now dead. A black woman is dead because the police officers were apparently looking for someone who wasn't even in her house in the first place. And yet there's been no justice for her at all. No justice. A black woman just in her own house. Yeah, in her own house. Shot and killed for what reason? Other than racism. Because they were looking for somebody who wasn't even in the house in the first place. So when I say these institutions are run by white supremacy, you will hear me today. They are run by white supremacy. This is the after effects of colonialism. You understand? The after effects of colonialism. Where we're no longer enslaved physically, but they're doing everything in their power to get rid of us. And it just really baffles me that people can be so in denial that this is going on. Like, you've seen it on the news. You see a man kneeling on another man, and you not have a problem with that. You're quick to ask, so what did he do to deserve that? That should not be the first thing you should be asking. You should be asking, why did that police officer decide to suffocate him? And you know what the most disgusting thing is? Those 4 police officers in that freaking video have only been fired. Fired. They murdered a man and they've only been... No, let me correct that. They murdered a black man and they've only been fired. Do not forget about Ahmaud Arbery, who was murdered back in February of this year. He was murdered by 2 white men. Now, they weren't police officers, but you see where I'm going with this? Racism it's a disease, and it's infecting these people. We can't even live. We can't even live in these white-dominated countries. And you know, I used to always say, oh, it'd be better if we go back to the Caribbean or back to Africa. But at the end of the day, white people have their hands in these countries as well. So where do we go to escape? We're like being persecuted literally everywhere. I'm hearing way too many stories of black people being murdered and persecuted. You know, the whole Windrush scandal here in the UK. And at the end of the day, it's becoming tiresome. It's very tiresome. And to be honest, I don't blame people for rioting because they're fed up of talking. Talking is getting them nowhere. So I just want to end this video by saying black women and black men across the world need protection, because this keeps happening. Like I said, it's not just an American issue or UK issue. Police brutality is not that. This is like murder. Yeah, that's happening in both these countries. And it just seems to me that people don't want to acknowledge this. Like, it's right there in front of your face. How can you not acknowledge it, that black people are unprotected? It doesn't make a drop of sense for this to have gone on so long. And you know what the funny thing is? I don't understand, like, if white people know that police officers are murdering them as well, then why would you just sit there on your laurels and not do anything about it? Do you want to criticize black people's reactions to what is clearly racism? Answer me that. Why have you lot not done anything? If you want to keep using this tired notion that white people get murdered more often by the police, I mean, it would make sense in these white-dominated countries where you make up majority of the population. It would make sense. But if you want to talk numbers, black people are killed at higher numbers because there's actually less of them. So, yeah, use the term genocide. All right? I gone. Bye.